Got my free food.
Aspects of it, all within the one unified platform.
It's the speed to value. So you can go from having nothing set up to having the platform turned on, ready to start implementing within 10 minutes. You can have your first proof of concept done easily within a week. You're at the other side, you've got production set up, having things like Copilot, enabling your business users to get to the insight they need faster. It's a game changer, effectively.
The simplicity, you can start with a small solution and then let it simply grow. If you want to start with classical analytics, then you can add real-time intelligence afterwards.
I think the thing that excites me most about Microsoft Fabric is that it puts data at the center. Everybody wants AI, and for AI to work, you have to have data. That's what Fabric can do for us. It brings that all together in one platform for the customers to really accelerate their AI journey.
For me, pretty much everything excites me about Fabric. It's a great product with a lot of innovation. From a developer perspective, I can say it's really a game changer, and I'm looking forward for all the new exciting features that help our customers to get the business value out of the product.
It's changing 15 years of how we're building data warehousing, and it's unifying everything under one hood, under one platform, selling something that I believe in, a solution that I could be confident about, and it's making it faster from the first time we meet the customer, from the intro to when we go to the production. It's a solution that is changing everything until now.
All right, so that was a quick overview of Fabric and how we're doing. Now to the most exciting part of the keynote, I'm going to invite Amir Nats, our technical fellow and CTO, and he's going to show you all the innovation we're landing this week. Welcome, Amir.
Thank you so much, everyone. How are you guys doing? This is what you've been waiting for. We're going to take a look at the product, the innovation, everything that is coming and cool. Oh, we're going to have so much fun. So, first we'll start with just framing the vision of the product. We have three pillars in the vision. First of all, we are providing an AI-powered data platform. This means that we bring all the data services together in a single unified platform. Second, we're unifying your entire data estate, and this is where OneLake comes into the picture. And lastly, we are directly connecting with the business users who are sitting in the productivity apps, who wants to get some insights. These are the three pillars. This is the structure of the presentation, and we're going to start with the first pillar. We're going to take a look at what does it mean to have a platform that is end-to-end, everything comes together. And this is the platform. You've seen this picture before. It has everything that you need for data. It has the data factory for data integration, data extraction, data movement. It has the analytics with data warehousing, data engineering, data science. It has real-time intelligence for everything that is coming from sensors, from telemetry, from devices. And it has Power BI, you know Power BI, I don't have to explain what it is. And then you have the youngest member of the family, the databases. Okay, we'll spend some time on that one as well. Super, super excited about the databases. All sitting on a common platform of AI, common platform for governance, and OneLake. And we're going to, the hallmark of everything that we're doing is integration, unification, and we've been providing for you guys this environment where everything comes together. You have a place where you have workspaces, where you run the project, you have the task flows that give you rails for running the structure and the architecture of everything that you do. And then you have, of course, the copilot in every experience to really accelerate your work. And this is great, because if you come from Power BI, this all makes sense. It's kind of massively empowering, low code, almost all over the place. You can build so much. It's such a democratizing platform. But if you come from the IT side of the house, you're a data professional, data engineer, application developer, well, you told us that you want more capabilities that are oriented to the professional developer, a professional developer platform. So I'm going to share with you a bunch of announcements, a bunch of new capabilities that we are adding into the platform, and we start with service principles. You guys wanted service principles. Generally available today is service principle for GitHub and GitHub APIs. Generally available are the service principle working with the development pipeline API. So you want to automate the deployment, you want to make the CI/CD. Service principle is now available, generally available. That's one. Another thing that we made generally available, another big request, was the ability to deploy with Terraform. That's another one that is just generally available. And then we go to the things that you haven't seen yet, most of you, okay? So we are now incredibly excited that in public preview we have variable libraries. Now what are variable libraries? You can guess what they are, right? It's the ability to define variable that can change from settings, variable that can change from one environment to another environment to another environment. So you can have, one set of settings for dev, another set of settings for test, another set for production, and we'll see more of that. The other thing we told us as a professionals, say we don't want to have the same code showing again and again and again. We want to be able to have code reusability. So we are incredibly excited to introduce the user data functions. And the user data functions allow you to create functions in code, in variable language, could be C#, could be Python, and then call them from all over Fabric. And outside of Fabric, it's a SaaS version of Azure Functions. It's pretty incredible. We'll see more of that. And lastly, maybe my favorite one of this bunch is the command line interface. So you told us, like, it's one of those weird demos that is like green characters or black screen. It's really, really hard to see what's going on there. But we wanted to make sure that those of you who are professional that say, it's GUI and mouse and click and drag, it's just for wussies, and real developers really want to just use a keyboard, that we give you a command line. And what's cool about it is we kind of looked at the command lines available out there, and we realized that the closest one that we can imagine is the command line of an operating system. Where operating system, you use the command line of Windows, you use the command line of Linux, you know how to work with them. So that we can actually look at Fabric through the lens of an operating system. So everything you do is commands that you already know. So if you want to look at the list of workspaces, if you come from Windows, you can do dir. If you come from Linux, you can do ls. And then you want to create a new workspace. It's just a make dir. And you make dir by workspace, you have a new workspace. And you can cd into the workspace and do another dir or ls. And then create a lakehouse by make dir lakehouse.lakehouse. So you know the command line interface before even opening the documentation, because you use Linux, you use Windows, you know it already. It's super cool. You can schedule jobs, you can monitor, you can put this command line as scripts, you can put them as part of GitHub Actions. It's incredible. So really, really excited about the command line interface. What do you think? Now, let's move on to the workloads. And we have all these cool workloads. We're going to go one by one. We're going to start with analytics. Analytics, as we said, is the world of data warehousing, data engineering, data science. And especially when it comes to the data warehousing, this is where we made massive, massive progress. Like, we started with the fresh, newest data warehouse in the market a year ago. It was brand new MVP architecture, separation of storage and compute, all auto-optimizing. There are almost no knobs to play with. It's the most modern data warehouse in the market. And as a new data warehouse, sometimes it has the initial kinks, but we made massive progress over the last year. And to show us what's new with the data warehouse, I'm going to invite my friend Charles Webb to the stage. Hey Charles.
What's going on, man?
It's been quite a year with data warehousing, right? So a lot of progress.
Yeah, we've been really busy working on the data warehouse. And it really starts with all of you. Behind the scenes, we've been working on shipping over 100 of your ideas. And that means we've mined Reddit, we've mined Fabric Ideas, we've mined even X, RIP Twitter, just to make sure that the things that are most important to you, we've shipped.
So a lot of you have been using the data warehouse. We have 15,000 customers who have been using the data warehouse. And one of the things that I love the most is the experiences that we have in the data warehouse.
Absolutely. We've been really working hard to make the data warehouse experiences the most intelligent warehouse out there.
Do you want to show us something?
Let's take a look. So here we are in the data warehouse experience, and you're going to notice unified experiences for everything from ETL with no code and pro code, queries with, again, no code and pro code, modeling because BI and AI is not an afterthought, and of course your favorite tools like VS Code and SSMS. We've also got Copilot built in, and it's infused everywhere within the editor. So let's take a look. Let's write a query. I'm going to leave a comment here, Amir, and you can see as I start typing code, you're going to see intelligent completion just at work.
And this is great. Even if you are an expert developer, it just saves so much time.
Yeah. This is one of my favorite features as a SQL developer. But it gets better. We also have these live templates. And so as I type code, what you're going to see is, even if I'm coming from a different data warehouse, it's easy to write SQL here. And you can see how it easily helps me pre-fill all of the syntax needed to deliver SQL queries. And check out this performance, blazing fast.
It's really fast. Now, Copilot.
One of my favorite features of the data warehouse is also when I want to analyze data and ask questions and figure out what kind of insights I can gather. Copilot allows me to brainstorm very easily, and not only does it generate SQL queries for me, but these SQL queries are things that I can now run. And the best part about it is it walks me through all of the way that it's thinking so that that business logic, I can make sure that it's something that I can trust. Now it gets better, Amir, it gets better. I can also get all the power of the Power BI, clicky, draggy, droppy, and just a button click. So check out this chart and visualization I can create in seconds.
So just instantly, out of the result of the query, you can go build the reports, share them.
Super easy, super easy.
That's awesome.
Now, a lot of developers also like notebooks, okay?
Yes.
And we, of course, support notebooks. So I can easily develop and write SQL here as well. And you can see I can also chart my data too. But because all the data in the data warehouse is powered and sits on top of OneLake, that also means I can switch compute engines. So if I need to do data engineering, if I need Spark, if I need Python, if I need R, it's right there at my fingertips.
You know, one of the things I love about everything that is happening here, it's all built on the same language. I joined Microsoft 28 years ago. I joined the SQL Server organization, which was still SQL Server, and everything was built around T-SQL. We have millions and millions of people who know T-SQL already, and just the transition to move to this fresh new data warehouse is so easy because of the T-SQL knowledge that they have.
Absolutely. I love that quote from EQ Bank, just because when you think about the era of AI, a lot of organizations are trying to figure out how do they accelerate and innovate, how do they modernize, and with SQL and the data warehouse, you're already there. You already have all the skills you need to develop and do more with data.
So a lot of you have the Synapse Gen 2 data warehouse in Azure, and you're looking kind of a little bit with envy about what's happening in Fabric with the data warehouse, and say, yeah, how do I transition? And we will be working on that. We have some new innovation and now there are announcements.
Absolutely. I'm super excited to announce that for Synapse customers, starting with Synapse customers, we're announcing a seamless migration experience. And this is really going to allow you to migrate. Thank you. I'm super excited about this because for our Synapse customers, our past data warehouse customers, we're moving you to the SaaS capabilities and we're just getting started. Let's take a look.
Okay, let's take a look.
So starting today, you're going to have a new migrate button in your workspace. And you're going to see a number of different items there, offline options, but you can also see a card for Synapse Analytics. And what you're going to be able to do is migrate your code first and your data. And it's pretty simple. All you have to do is connect to your data, select the objects or the schemas that you care about, and then you have to validate a few things. Maybe you want to see the different objects, you want to preview the data, but at the end of the day, you're going to validate your connections, and you're going to click migrate metadata. And that's it. Behind the scenes, we're going to apply best practices and already move your code. And see, that was pretty quick.
And there's a bunch of AI that actually makes sure that the code transitions correctly.
100%. And it gets better. Suppose there's a few things that I need to fix. I'm not on my own. You can see here, this preview suggested fix is going to give me a diff view. And what I'm going to be able to do is now see my original code, and the new suggested code from Copilot. So now it makes it easy for me to work through any issues that might arise. And it gets even more magical. Once I accept this, what you're gonna see is the Copilot's gonna work. I'm gonna run this query, and we're gonna validate that that query was the right thing to run. We're gonna work through all those dependencies, automatically fix those up, and you can see how magical that is. We went from 8 issues down to 7, and I can keep working through this experience in a really intelligent way.
So all the views, all the stored procedures are passing. What about the data?
Great question. So once you've migrated all of your code, the next step is, of course, to copy the data. And this is, again, where we have an intelligent experience, folks. So you can do it yourself or with an assistant. I love the assistant because it makes it easy. You have automatically mapped types for you, so it makes it easy to say, okay, I'm moving from Synapse to Fabric, but it gets better. You can do a full copy or incremental copy, and there's intelligence built in to make this a breeze. So all I have to do is click on Create, and we're gonna now start a copy job behind the scenes to make your data movement a breeze.
That's awesome. Now, all the data gets moved, and then we have all these applications that we're connecting to the old data warehouse. What happened to them?
So traditionally, a cutover is quite difficult, but for us, what we've done is we've built in both guidance and, again, intelligence. So if you choose reroute with an assistant, it's kind of a magical experience in here. We're gonna click on this button, and we're gonna reroute all those synapse.database.net connections to Fabric.
So there is no there's no change needed in any of the existing applications to connect to the new data warehouse, because they connect to the old data warehouse, they're getting rerouted to the new data warehouse automatically.
Absolutely.
This is quite incredible. Yeah. To be very honest, when Charles told me he's going to do a migration demo, I thought that's kind of boring. It's not going, but it's so exciting. You know? Yeah. And it's not just it's not just looking great, it's not just kind of magical, but it's also very, very practical, actually working in the world.
Yeah.
In the world.
I really love this quote from Kantar because they tried this during the private preview. And one of the things they thought about was, hey, a migration typically takes years and months. And they set a really ambitious goal. Can we migrate in a quarter? They tried our tool, and they're able to migrate their scripts, 700 of them, thousands of lines of code, in less than an hour. And that's pretty powerful stuff, but I just love this quote because migrations can be easier. They can be much more simple. And we're really excited to give it all to you folks.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Charles.
Thank you.
So we talk about data warehousing. Let's continue to data engineering. This is the world of Spark and notebooks and Python. This is the world where it's been exploding. There's so much going on. And to show all the cool stuff that we're doing, I want to invite my friend Justina to the stage. Hey, Justina.
Here. Hi, everyone.
So, it's been an incredible year for everything we're doing in data engineering.
Yes, it's absolutely been an amazing year. You know, we've just seen phenomenal growth. With our Spark compute, it has grown 50x since this time last year. And we've of course been working on our performance with our native engine. You can expect performance to be 400% faster than open source Spark. And we don't just focus on performance, right? We also focus on price performance. And so you can see with our offering, it is 2.5 times more cost effective than other alternatives in the market.
So there is no better system, there is no more cost-effective data engineering system out there than the one you have in Fabric. This is quite incredible. And don't just trust me. You know, we have people saying we'll testify to that.
Yes, absolutely. So we've been working closely with LSEG, the London Stock Exchange Group, and they've been using Fabric and Spark to bring in all of their disparate data sources, right? Everything from on-prem across multiple different clouds. They've been starting working with Fabric and Spark to bring that data, transform it, and share it out. And if you want to learn more about what the London Stock Exchange Group are doing, make sure you join Phil's session tomorrow morning at 8 a.m.
And the key tool for the trade here is the notebook. And what's really cool about the notebooks is they're really bringing together the best of Fabric.
Yes, exactly. You know, we've been kind of focusing on making the notebook the central hub, connecting to different items, languages, data sources. And maybe to see some of the latest enhancements, let's jump into the demo. So over here, I'm in my notebook, and I want to work with the same data warehouse that Charles is working with. But I'm personally more of a Python user myself, right? So we're there in our Python notebook, but you're going to see this new T-SQL magic command I can add. And what that lets me do is it just lets me insert a T-SQL code cell in the middle of my Python notebook. So you can see I'm just writing a normal warehouse query, but you're going to see something really cool here, Amir. You're going to see this bind data frame command. And what this lets me do is it lets me store that result set from the warehouse in a Python data frame.
So now my Python can access the result of the
Exactly. Exactly. So now I have the full power of Python directly here with this result from the warehouse. So I want to do some customer segmentation modeling. So for that, I'm going to go and create myself a couple of parameters such as recency and frequency. And the great news is, one of my colleagues has already written the code for the customer segment. And the even better news is, they stored in a user data function. Right?
User data function, that's going to be, I announced this one, right?
You did, I think you did just announce this one. So here's my beautiful user data function. You can see it takes in a number of different inputs. It's doing a bunch of this segmentation logic. It provides an output. And these are just awesome for just defining this reusable code I can just use everywhere. And what I really love about these as well is I can just test them out directly in line with this experience. So if I was to just input some recency and frequency data over here, I could just run it and test it out.
So this is just sassified functions, so easy, anybody can create those. And I can use them outside of Fabric as well.
Yes, exactly. They come with an endpoint that I can call from anywhere, including notebooks as well.
So you can call a REST endpoint from outside of Fabric, but in notebooks it gets even better.
Yes, of course. So we wanted to make this even better than calling just a REST endpoint. We've integrated it with our notebook utils over here. So you can see I can just scan through and use IntelliSense to choose the function I want to use. And I can now create myself a function object that I can just leverage. So then in a single line of code, I can basically call this function with all of the different parameters I've just defined. And in a couple of seconds, you know, there it is. That's how easy it is to integrate.
What do you guys think? It's pretty cool, right?
Thank you.
Now,
Right.
what about all these parameters that you had for those?
Yes, and I think you might have, announced something that was pretty useful for that. Of course, that is the variable library, and this is probably one of my own personal favorite announcements from this keynote. With the variable library, I'm basically able to just go ahead and define all of the parameters I need to use. You can see I've already created one over here. And the great thing here is I've got my default value set, but I've also got my alternative test and prod set. So what does that mean? Now when I go and deploy this across dev, test, prod, these values are all just going to update automatically. So I'm going to define one more parameter over here for recency. You can see just how easy that experience is. I'm going to go and say this is an integer. I'm going to add a default value over here, and I'm just going to override the test and prod sets. So again, once these deploy, all of these will just automatically update.
So no more hard-coded values in the notebook. You can actually put it all in the library.
Yes.
And to use them is a breeze in the notebook.
Exactly. So it's going to be very similar to just what you just saw of the user data functions. I'm going to go and create myself a variables object. And then I'm going to go and update these parameters from being hard-coded to dynamic. And take a look at this. Again, I get just beautiful IntelliSense. I can actually browse through my variable library, just select which parameter I want to add. It is that easy to use. Okay, so now we're going to run this, and again, it's just going to automatically thank you. All right, so I've done all of this great processing, and I want to get this data back into my warehouse now. So I'm going to add one step, which is just going to convert this customer segments I've calculated into a JSON object. And now take a look what I'm going to do over here. Inside my notebook cell, I'm going to go ahead and actually define data warehousing transactions. So I'm going to go and create this new segment column. I'm going to add the data I just went and processed with Python directly back into my warehouse, a whole bunch of other steps. And it's really marrying that ACID transactions of the enterprise data warehouse with the full flexibility and programmability of Python.
So we're going to see a lot of data warehouse being maintained through notebooks, getting all the value of the combination of the power of the T-SQL and the power of Python with the ability to monitor them very nicely with the monitoring tool that we have in notebooks. It's going to be incredible. Yeah. Now, all that is, we haven't seen much of the Copilot, but we've been continuing to work on Copilot in the notebook.
Yes, absolutely. So if you're looking at this, you're a little bit worried, like, hey, I don't really work with notebooks. Well, Copilot is here to help you out, along with a whole bunch of new updates coming to it in public preview today. So this includes the in-cell Copilot experience for ease of use, a bunch of quick actions such as debugging, optimizing, explaining your code, and best of all, no more installation step. Yes.
Yeah,
I thought some of you might like that.
I learned how to code in Python just using the Copilot. It's so cool. It's now, there's one more announcement we have, right? Because we have something new that you guys may be familiar with from databases. You know about views in databases. Your ability to define a query that is stored in the database, and then you can run it and call it in your queries as if it was a table, kind of a logical query. And then you have in the database the ability sometimes to materialize the view, so the view is not computed when you call it, but computed ahead of time. And we're going to do the same thing with Spark in the Lake.
Absolutely. We're bringing materialized views to Spark, to the Lakehouse. A whole bunch of goodness, a lot of exciting features over here. So why don't we just jump straight in and take a look what this experience is going to look like. Okay, so we're starting out inside our lake house, and you can see I've already defined my bronze layers over here. And I want to go and build out my silver and gold layers using these new materialized views. So I'm going to jump into a notebook. The first step I'm going to do is I'm going to go and create my silver schema, right? So we're going to go and define that. And as the next step, we're actually going to start building out these materialized views in the notebook. And there's one really exciting feature that's coming to these materialized views, which is the ability to define data quality constraints. So I can go over here and say, hey, if my sales quantity column is null, go and drop those rows, right? I can start defining these different types of rules.
So data quality is just built into Spark, into Fabric.
Exactly, exactly. And I can define things like nulls or failures. So I'm going to go and define the rest of this materialized view over here. I'm going to basically be doing a bunch of joins in my bronze layer. And let's fast forward now. You can see I built out a pretty complex notebook. It's gone and defined a lot of views that are built on top of other views, that are built on top of tables. And you can see basically I'm going to go and run this ahead of time.
It's really important to run them in the right order. All these views, to materialize them in the right order, because they depend one on another.
Yes, exactly. So this is where our beautiful management portal for materialized views comes in. Now you can see this beautiful diagram. I didn't have to go and configure it or do anything. This is just defined declaratively. It is provided out of the box. And I can see how all of these different views are defined. You can see it updating in real time. Did you see that box just went green? That means that step has succeeded. It has finished running. I can jump in. I can see all the details, just how long it took to run, when did it complete, all of the details I need. So we're going to keep running this, we're going to keep monitoring it, and we can see that the next step is actually turned red, which means a failure has occurred. So again, I can just jump into this, I can see exactly what went wrong, the error message is right there in line, and in this case I can actually see that one of our quality constraints got violated, and I configured it to fail if that was the case. Now, we're going to fast forward a little bit here as well. I've gone ahead and fixed my issue, and now we can see everything is succeeding, all the steps look green, all the steps have completed. So as the last step, let's go ahead and actually jump into our lakehouse. You can see our silver and gold layers here. And the best thing is, from a user perspective, these just look like delta tables.
It's more than just look like delta tables. These are delta tables, which means now everything works. You can run SQL queries on top of those. You can do the Power BI direct link on top of that. Everything works.
Exactly. Everything just works end to end.
So materialized views are coming to Fabric, to Spark, and one more now.
Yes, one more announcement we're going to do. So I'm really excited to announce that auto-scale billing for Spark is coming. It is out in public preview as of today. So all those notebooks you just saw me running, they can all run with this new billing model. What does that mean? You are billed for what you use with auto-scale up, auto-scale down, which is great for this kind of Spark spiky workloads that you may have.
So the most affordable, the most cost-effective Spark platform on the market just became even more cost-effective there, I guess, right? So thank you so much, Steve.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Amir. Have a great conference.
Now, we're going to continue. We're going to move to the, really, one of the most surprise stars that we have in Fabric, which is the real-time intelligence. We did not expect to see the reaction we're getting from you guys and the adoption we're getting from you guys for real-time intelligence. Real-time intelligence is all about working with real-time data. Data that's coming from sensors, from telemetry, from devices. We have all the tools that allows you to find all those streams of data from wherever they have, like a single catalog with the real-time hub. Massive technology allows you to process the data as it comes on the fly with the event stream. Event House, it's just absolutely magical place to store real-time data, to analyze semi-structured data, time series. It's massive scale. And the data activator, which allows you to define condition when things are happening, to say, hey, when this kind of thing happens, I want to take action automatically on top of that. And to talk to us more and explain what's new with our real-time intelligence, I'm going to invite Tessa on stage. Hey, Tessa.
Good to see you.
So Tessa, real-time intelligence, this is it. We have a massive platform behind it, right?
We do, yeah. This technology is built on top of planet-scale infrastructure. So we're talking about managing 10 exabytes of events and logs per month, doing 5.1 billion real-time queries per day, and doing this all at over 5 nines reliability. It's amazing.
So basically, every cloud service of Microsoft, every service you have in Azure, every service we have in M365, all the telemetry, exabytes of data, every day coming in, they're all being hosted on this platform.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's not just inside of Microsoft. You guys in Fabric we've been seeing a massive adoption of the real-time intelligence.
Exactly. Real-time intelligence in Microsoft Fabric is really just taking off, as you said. Even though we just GA'd in November, we have already 8,900 active customers, and we have 360% year-over-year growth. The response has just been amazing.
And when we see that, the growth, we typically look, who's using it? It's typically companies that have mission-critical infrastructure, mission-critical operations. It could be utility companies. It could be, transportation hubs.
Yeah, really anything. We see customers across every single industry. One great example is Melbourne Airport. Many of us probably took an airline to get here today, and we all know how important real-time and efficient operations are for those types of businesses. And so Melbourne Airport has had some great success with real-time intelligence, really helping optimizing their operations and just having an overall better experience for their customers.
So do you want to show us a little bit of what's going on there? How you optimize operations with real-time intelligence?
Yeah, let's see real-time intelligence in action. In this case, it's going to be at a major sustainability company. So I'm going to play the role of a data engineer, and I'm going to start here in the real-time hub. And what's so amazing about the real-time hub is I can see all of the different data streams coming in from across my organization all in one place. I can easily manage, discover, and take action right from this view. And if I don't see the source I'm looking for, we make it extremely easy for you to find and connect to it. So here you can see we have a wide range of sources across Microsoft and cross-cloud. We have Apache Kafka, Amazon Kinesis, Google PubSub, and more. And really, we just keep this list growing.
And we've been hearing all of you wanted even more sources for streaming data, and we've been adding more.
We have been, yes. So thanks to this audience, we've been adding more and more connectors. We're excited to announce 5 new connectors this week, including public data feeds and MQTT. And with that data streaming in, I can use event streams to really process and route it in real time. And coming soon, you can use the new SQL code transform to route it using a language I'm familiar with on the fly, and ultimately get it to any destination that I need. In this case, I'm landing it in Event House, which is that perfect location for the high volume, high granularity data that helps me query petabytes of data in seconds. And what's even more powerful, I can actually use it to connect to data across my whole system in one lake, bringing together my information technology, operation technology, and engineering technology, or IT, OT, and ET data all in one place, helping me find correlated insights across all my data estate, both in fast and affordable queries.
This is quite incredible, right? Now, you have all the, first of all, if you haven't tried the Event House, you have to try the Event House, even if you don't have sensors or devices, because you can actually use the technology of the Event House to work on top of every piece of data you have in one. They can get massive query acceleration on top of that. Number one. Number two, what you have here is you have the volume of data you can handle. We had a couple of months ago McLaren on stage here, and these guys were analyzing 10 trillion points of data from their hypercars. You know McLaren with the F1 stuff, they've been 10 trillion points of data from the car in seconds, slicing and dicing with this technology. It's just remarkable. Now, all this data, all of these sensors coming into the Event House, well, we needed a way to really associate it with the real-time object, whether they're the cars, or the trucks, or the planes, or the gateways, everything. And we really need, or the wind turbine in your company, right?
Yep.
So we need a way to really associate and model, kind of create a semantic model of the real-world objects inside the Fabric to create a relationship between streams of data and the data that we have in Fabric, and the real-world objects. So this is where we are introducing, and we're going to show a sneak peek of the digital twin builder.
Yes, exactly. We're very excited to show you all a sneak peek of the new digital twin builder, because all that information is really helpful, but it's really lacking that context of the information about the actual physical items and how the system works together. And so with the new digital twin builder, we can do just that, and let's see it in action. So here you can see that we have the physical operations of my wind turbine and wind farm modeled as an ontology. And here I can actually see all of the different entities and the relationships as they work together. So I can see, for example, the wind turbine has a gearbox, it has a rotor, it has the turbine blades, and all of these pieces have different properties and the relationships that connects them. And so as the data is actually emitted from my physical devices, it's come in and mapped into this
You can associate the streams with each one of the components.
With each one of them, and multiple, you can bring it all together into one view. So I can see the wind turbines connected to the broader wind power plant, and how all of these pieces are connected together. And all of this data ultimately lands, of course, in OneLake, and so it allows me to take all of this personalized, contextualized information and bring it into things like a real-time operations dashboard. So back at the turbine, at the wind operations, we have our technician here seeing the data coming in real time. They can see anomalies as they come through, and with the help of the digital twin builder now, they can actually go down and see the individual fault codes and understand exactly what's happening.
So the real documentation of the wind turbine is in the product.
Is directly here, and then also with the power of Activator, we can immediately set alerts, and so the whole team is notified on issues before they get even worse. And so with real-time intelligence now, we have the real-time insights, we have AI-powered insights, and with the new sneak peek of Digital Twin Builder, it really helps organizations improve their operations.
So Digital Twin joined the family of real-time intelligence. Thank you so much, Tessa. Really exciting. Okay, so let's move on to the next pillar in our vision, which is the open and AI-ready data lake. This is the world of OneLake, and if you're here, you know what OneLake is. So one place for all your data for the entire organization, an infinitely scalable, planetly deployed, all the data from all the workloads, every piece of data has been generated, is stored in OneLake in an open format. Data can be shared without having to export, import, move. It just, it has it's will handle your lineage, will handle the PII detection, will handle everything. It's a SaaS data lake, pretty incredible. We've seen amazing momentum around OneLake. All of you have been adopting it in an incredible way. So just give you a little bit of stats here. We've seen 3 million shortcuts already being created. Every 15 weeks, you guys double the volume of data in OneLake. It's just unbelievable. Now you may ask, how does the data get into OneLake? Well, we have a bunch of techniques. The first one is through the data factory. And the data factory is the stack that allows you to connect to any data source, create pipelines, do the data transformation, and to show us what's new with our data integration and data factory technologies. I'm going to have Shireen join me on stage. Hey, Shireen.
Hi, everyone. Good morning.
So we have tens of millions of users that are using our data integration.
That is correct.
And the growth has been remarkable.
Extremely remarkable. And I want to take a moment to reflect on the usage so far. So our platform processes 705 trillion rows of data per month, orchestrates 18 billion orchestration runs per month as well, and moves 430 petabytes of data. And these numbers are only accelerating. And this scale is a testament to the impact that we're all driving together.
And one of the things that I've been hearing is not only that they use it a lot, but they also want to see more professional enhancements. I hear from you guys say, hey, we don't want to have any hard-coded values in our notebooks and our pipelines and our data flows. We don't want to be able to store secret there. We want to keep the secret somewhere else. We don't want hard connections. And we've been working on really making everything dynamic and integrating with all the goodness of the secret management.
Yep, you hit the nail right on the head, Amir. So especially when you're building scalable solutions, having those hard-coded values are extremely cumbersome and difficult to scale. So today I'm excited to introduce parameterization across Fabric that allows you to bring dynamic data ingestion, exactly, really exciting, and seamless adaptability across environments. So let's take a look to see how this works in Fabric. So the first feature I want to highlight specifically is connecting to the data behind for an Azure Key Vault. So let's run the video really quickly. There you go. So we're going to post secret credentials directly from Azure Key Vault. And I already have a connection to my Azure Key Vault here, and I have an Azure Blob Storage connection that requires an access key. So instead of hard-coding that value specifically, I'll go to my connection settings and see that key icon right there. All I have to do, it's super easy. All I have to do is reference the key vault, set my secret value, and that's it. Now we can bring in secure values directly into Fabric. Really exciting. Yes. So now let's go to my pipeline. We have more things to show you. So this is my medallion architecture right over here, and I'm bringing my products orders through the medallion architecture at petabyte scale. So a common thing that we see, especially with dynamic pipelines, is having those dynamic inputs as we're going through environments. So over here, I have a parameter set that references my Azure SQL database connection. And if I go to my copy activity, I have a new thing underneath connection setting, which is dynamic context. So I can reference that parameter through the pipeline expression builder, and that's basically it. Now my connections are fully dynamic, and easily scalable.
And integrated with the environment library.
And yeah, exactly what Justina showed through in different environments, through my test, production, and development environments as well. So it doesn't just end there, right? So I have a data flow activity here as well. So let me open up my data flow and see how we can use parameterization to make these even more powerful. So in my data flow, I have, my transformation that I'm using for my products orders, and I want to group it by region specifically. So my ultimate goal is to have region-specific tables in my Azure SQL database, and instead of once again hard-coding these values, I can use parameterization. So I have a parameter here, which I've defined, which is set for region, and the default value is Eastern. So my query right now defaults everything to the Eastern region, and through that filter icon in my query, I can see that I'm using dynamic input through my entire query, and I'm running everything in my SQL database. So now before I head back to my pipeline, I have another really exciting feature to announce today, and that is saving a data flow without automatically publishing or refreshing behind the scenes.
Yeah, and we all been asking this, it's here now.
It's here now, exactly. So now when we go back to my pipeline and see how I can use that region parameter in my pipeline. So if I go to my data flow activity and configure it, I'll see a new section underneath there that you can configure my parameters. So I'll have a separate new parameter for my region, and I'll select the metadata from my metadata activity. So now every single time this activity goes to my for each loop, which is around 4 times for each of my regions, which is Eastern, Southern, and Western, and Northern, which I forgot. Now when I run the pipeline, I'll see those inputs directly here. So the first is Eastern, which is my default value. I have Southern, I have Northern, I have Western. And if I go to my SQL database, I can verify that those 4 tables have dynamically been inputted in. So I didn't have to hard code anything. Everything was done through my pipeline through parameters.
Yeah, so this is just making everything so much easier to create partition data processing, so you can have smaller chunks running in parallel. It's such an incredible
no more
way.
static connections, no more static values either.
So a lot of people using it. For example, we have Bear.
Yeah, we have Bear, who is extremely excited about our parameterization features. And they use Data Factory specifically for their citizen developers to bring that data directly in through environments and use it in a self-service manner for insights. So we're really excited to work with Bear and other customers to leverage the potential of parameterization across many different data solutions.
So bringing data through pipelines and data flows is one way to get the OneLake populated. But there are other ways that really makes OneLake so unique. And the first one is the shortcuts. And you guys have been using shortcuts, and we're constantly extending the reach of shortcuts. So if you have data stored in other clouds or in Azure, on premises, in storage systems like NetApps, you can just shortcut without any data movement, data duplication. Now OneLake, instead of you bringing the data to OneLake comes to your data, which is quite incredible. The other mechanism we have for data that is locked behind proprietary formats, typically in databases, is the mirroring, right? And mirroring is just as simple as shortcut, just works differently. Instead of pointing data that is stored in open systems, we point to a database, and then we replicate the database into OneLake, in an open format now.
Yeah.
And then we maintain the database in OneLake at real time using the CDC feed of the database. And it's so simple, near real-time updates is completely free. You don't pay for the storage for that. You don't pay for the replica, you don't pay for the maintenance. It's all in the house forever, which is, people absolutely love it. But then they say, we want more. We want more sources.
But before we get to sources, I have a customer I want to highlight, right? So we have AP Pension, who's using our mirroring features extensively. And they basically streamline their entire data replication process using sources like Azure SQL Database, Cosmos DB. And you no longer have to build this complex ETL pipelines. You can get your data in near real-time replication, and you can use that directly for insights as well. So we're excited to work with AP Pension and other customers to streamline their data replication processes through mirroring.
And AP Pension also told us, we love it, we want more.
Exactly.
More data sources. So we have some announcements.
We do. So right now we have 2 sources generally available, and we have 3 other sources in public preview today. But we have one more source that we're announcing as in public preview, and that is mirroring for Azure PostgreSQL. So we've heard this countless amount of times to customers, and we're excited to introduce this other source in public preview too.
Now, the other thing you've been all telling us, it's great, mirroring is a great idea, but since so many of databases are locked behind virtual network firewalls, you guys have to support the ability to go get these databases even when they're protected by by those virtual networks.
Yeah, a private link or a virtual network. So with that in mind, today I'm thrilled to introduce that we now support mirroring sources behind a firewall or a private link. Exactly. So now you can use that same on-premises data gateway, that virtual data network gateway, and use sources like Snowflake, Azure SQL Database, and SQL MI to bring that data behind the firewall into OneLake. And we don't just end there, right? So mirroring now, our promise to you guys is that we're going to support replicating data behind the firewall for all of our sources in the upcoming future. So stay tuned, because we have more coming.
Now, even more sources are coming. We are still busy working, getting even more, so we want to share with you a little bit of the roadmap here.
Yeah, so you saw that previous screen, right? So now in the next upcoming months, you'll see connectivity to sources for Azure SQL Server, SQL Server 2025, Oracle, and these three use that same on-premises data gateway to replicate your data into OneLake, and we also have supportability for mirroring for Dataverse.
And a lot of you are using Dataverse because you use Power Apps, you use Dynamics 365. So Dataverse is going to be kind of an item, a mirroring item in Fabric. We're working on that. You're going to hear in the next few weeks more news about that. In Oracle, well, Oracle kind of, for me, it's a lot of memories. I joined Microsoft, part of the SQL Server organization, and the number one competitors we had was Oracle for many, many years. And now we are really excited to have the number one data source for mirroring that you have been requested, joining the family of mirroring.
Yeah.
And we'll take a look how it's going.
Yeah, let's take a look at how to see this actually looks in Fabric, okay? So let's go ahead and play the video. So right when I go into Fabric, I'll create a new art item, and just as how other sources show up for mirroring, you'll see a tile for mirroring for Oracle show up here as well. So I'll go ahead and click on it, and immediately I can either select an existing source connection or a new one. So I'll go ahead and select a new one, and directly here you'll see the source for selecting an on-premises data gateway. So I'll select my on-premises gateway, and I'll proceed. So right over here, automatically, all my tables are replicated in my Oracle database, but I can go ahead and filter, select a few tables. So in this case, I'll go ahead and filter, select 5 tables I want to bring in and part of my product sales, and I can see a preview of it on the right-hand side. And after giving my data destination table a name, that's basically it. The replication process begins with just a few simple clicks, just like how our other sources are replicated over too.
And that's it. You don't need to create any ETL pipeline. You do that, and the data just gets ingested, and then you can use it anywhere.
Exactly. So in a few seconds, you'll see that all my tables have been replicated over. I can see the rows that have been replicating, the time that has been modified as well. And on top of that, if I'm really, really curious, I want to look at my data and see what's happening, I can go to my SQL Analytics endpoint and query it directly over here too. But in this case, I'm just making sure I verify that all my tables have landed, and I can see that my customers one has landed over here as well. But now, of course, Amir, we have change data that is happening, those inserts, those updates, those deletes. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to go back to my Oracle database, insert 5 rows to my table, and I'll verify that those rows have been replicated over. So now if I go back to Fabric, I can go to that monitor view, or I can go to my SQL Analytics endpoint. And in this case, I'm just going to query the rows, right? The customers table had about 103 rows, and I added 5 more, so it should return 108. And in this case, it automatically did. And this was all in near real time.
It's really real time. You don't have to do anything, no scheduling, no ETL packages, just your Oracle data is automatically mirrored into OneLake. This is quite incredible. Thank you so much, Irene.
Thank you so much, Amir. Thank you, everyone.
So we want to make sure that OneLake works with all the data in the world. You see us working with the Oracle database. We want to make sure that we work with all of our partners and all of our competitors at the same time. So one of the things we've done a year ago, at the Build conference last year, so less than a year ago, we announced that we're going to work with Snowflake. And we're going to work together to make sure that the best of Snowflake and the best of OneLake will come together. And I'm delighted to have here Chris Child from Snowflake, Vice President of Product for Snowflake. And I want to tell you a little bit about Chris, about the work that we, Snowflake and Fabric and teams have been working together, doing together in order to really bring the best of data, no matter what platform.
Well, good morning, everyone. And Amir, thank you for having me here. It's great to be joining everyone. And we at Snowflake, we're really excited about helping tear down data silos, help everyone get value out of their data, and really make better decisions with it. And it's very similar to what you guys are building in Fabric. But one of the things that we found is there were still silos of data. We just talked a bunch about mirroring and copying data. A big part of the philosophy that we both share is you shouldn't have to move your data, you shouldn't have to make copies. And so with Apache Iceberg, we've found a way to work together to make sure that your data in OneLake and your data in Snowflake can seamlessly be used in both platforms at the same time without making copies and without having to move any data.
And this is pretty amazing, right? So we've been working and we've been adopting Iceberg throughout Fabric. So every table that you have there is data table in Fabric can be viewed as Iceberg table, and you can use it in Snowflake, right? And we make the other way around. Every table that you have in Iceberg in Snowflake can use a Delta table in Fabric. So this interop just really works together.
And this is really the power that we see from open formats and open data like Apache Iceberg. It means that all the work that we're doing in Snowflake to give incredible performance and security and collaboration on top of Iceberg data supports all of the data that you have in OneLake and vice versa. Your data doesn't have to move, and you can get value out of it wherever it happens to sit.
So we made a lot of progress already. So we already have the ability of Snowflake to write into OneLake. We have the ability of Fabric to read the Iceberg table of Snowflake, and we're doing more work.
And so soon we'll be launching deeply integrated even into both of the UIs in OneLake and in Snowflake. So you'll be able to go directly into Snowflake and with a few clicks, bring your data into OneLake, and in OneLake you'll be able to come in, see your Snowflake data directly in the UI and all your explorers in a really seamless way.
And you'll be able to get all of the Delta tables you have in Fabric showing you the Iceberg table in Snowflake without any effort.
And you don't have to copy, no copies, no movement, nothing that you have to do. It all just works. It's really, really amazing.
Thank you so much. It's really a pleasure working with your team. Okay, so we have all the data in OneLake, and we want to make sure that it's governed, it's secure, and this is where I know a lot of feedback we're getting from large organizations saying you have to make sure that everything is there is proper. So we introduced the OneLake catalog. It's the one place where you can find all your data, all your items. It could be not just the data warehouse and event houses and lake houses, but your notebooks and your reports and your pipeline. Everything is there, highly discoverable. You can govern it directly from there. And one of the things that we are incredibly excited to announce is that the same experience is now available also in Excel. So your business users can find all the data in OneLake very, very easily, consume it into Excel in the same governed, configured way. Now, the other thing we want to make sure that the compliance is there. So we've been working on adding certifications all over, and we just hard at work, accumulating more and more certifications. The last one was the PCI DSS certificate, which is needed for the payment industry. But basically every industry you're in, the governing body that are handling the regulation, we are making sure that you have all the certification you need in order to be compliant in there. And we've been shipping lots and lots and lots of features for network security, for data security, for governance. I'm not going to go over the list. I do want to talk about two really big ones that we are working on, because you've been asking for the roadmap on them, when they can be available. So the first one is relating to the network security, and this is the data exfiltration protection and the private link for workspaces. And so we're going to have in the spring a public preview of the data exfiltration protection. Joining on data security, the customer managed keys for OneLake. Both are going to be in preview this spring, so it's a few weeks away. And in the summer, we're going to get the private links for public workspaces, and both of those in the falls, we're going to ship as generally available. So wait, it's coming, a few months away, but we are hard at work and things are looking really, really bright there. And then we have something. I'd like to invite Patrick LeBlanc to the stage to talk a little bit about one more feature that we've been talking about. We've been talking about for a while, Patrick. Since the early days of Fabric, we've been talking about one feature we promised to bring to market, right?
Yes.
And this is
OneLake security.
Right, OneLake security. So we promised that you, instead of having to secure the data separately in the BI system, in the data warehousing system, in the event house system, we can have one place in OneLake. You can set all the security definition, table level security, column level security, row level security, and the same definition will apply to every workload we have in Fabric.
That's right.
So I know, seeing is believing,
yeah,
right?
So enough of all this talking. Let's head over to my laptop, right? So here in my Fabric workspace, you can see I created a beautiful medallion architecture using task flows. I can transform data, I can visualize data, I can even talk with my data and have a natural language conversation. But let's check out my data. So I'm gonna head over to the OneLake catalog, and you can see that I can search for different items. I can look at my items. I can get really granular and look at this by domains and item types.
But I see this red bulb there that seems like a warning light.
Yeah, so there's some restricted data here. So I find out that I have some sensitive data here. You can see I have my customer financial summary in this lakehouse. And if I take a look at my lineage view, I can see everything that's happening upstream and downstream. But what I'm more concerned about is the permissions, and I notice that I have two culprits here, Adam and Kim. They have gotten access to my lake house in here, and I need to do some work. And if you see, when I jump over into my lake house, you can even see that my data is restricted. If you take a look at
there's the credit card numbers in there.
I gotta get rid of that. Yes. I gotta get rid of that. Kim cannot see that. Kim cannot see that. Kim cannot see my credit card information. So I'm gonna use OneLake Security, and it's really easy to set up OneLake Security. All you do is you give it a name. You just give it a name, select the data you want, and add the members in here. That's it. Once you're done, you see I've created two roles. I'm gonna set up column level security and row level security. And it's just a few clicks. And so you go into edit, you choose the type of security you want, you find the table, go in, choose the type of security.
And we're going to remove from Kim the ability to see the credit card numbers?
Absolutely. We don't want her to see the credit card numbers. So once I do that with just a few clicks, and then I add her to this row, the next time she accesses this data, she's not going to see it. I'm going to show you, because she's probably going to call before this is over. Okay?
Well, we have Adam. Adam should see only these wingtip toys, right?
That's right.
That's the only prototype he's allowed to see.
That's only because Adam only plays with toys, right? He doesn't do anything real. And so we go in there wingtip toys, and I will switch over to row level security. And so instead of writing DAX, right? We used to write DAX, but now we've been writing T-SQL how long, Amir? For decades, since the 1900s. And so what we're gonna do is, I'm gonna add Adam to this role, and when Adam signs in, he's only gonna see wingtip toys, and I guarantee you, both of them are gonna be called.
This is row level security.
This is row level security, that's right. So let's take a look at the report. This is what it looks like from an admin's perspective.
We can see that.
We can see that, right?
403 rows.
403 rows, all the buying groups, all
credit card numbers, you can see the whole thing.
Right, we can see everything. We can see everything. Adam's gonna call us. Watch. Just give it like 2 seconds. The phone's gonna start ringing. He's gonna call, and watch what's gonna happen when Adam opens up this Power BI report. He can only see 201 rows.
We have eliminated everything.
Yeah. And so I'm on the phone with him. He's like, "Oh, Patrick, I can only see these rows." I'm like, "That's the only thing you can see. You just play with toys, man. That's all you do. You're a manager now. You don't do anything real." And so he says, "But hey, I used to be technical. I could write a little SQL." So he heads over to the analytics endpoint, and he opens up the analytics endpoint, and he starts writing a query. He only can write a select star because he doesn't know anything else. And so he writes this query, and then if you look in the bottom bar, I go, "Adam, you're only gonna see 200 rows," but he doesn't trust me. And look,
it's still there.
But he still doesn't trust me. He goes, "Hey, I'm gonna add a where clause to this." And I was impressed when he added this where clause because I didn't know he could do this, right? So he added this where clause, he executed the query, and guess what happened? The exact same thing. I said, "Trust me, Adam." He goes, "But Patrick, I'm gonna leave Fabric. I'm gonna leave Fabric and go into the OneLake Explorer, the OneDrive for data."
Oh, he's sneaky.
Oh, he's a sneaky one. Yeah. He's a sneaky one, right? And then when he double clicks this thing, guess what happened? Foiled again, Adam. You can't get to my data. Okay. And so after I got off the phone with Adam, guess who called? Kim. My boss's boss's boss, right? So Kim calls, and Kim's like, "Hey, I'm in a notebook." I'm like, "What are you doing in the notebook, Kim?" She goes, "I'm writing a select star." I go, "Managers love select star." And so she writes this select star, and she runs this query. When she executes a select star, she thought she was going to see credit cards.
There's no credit card.
They're gone. They're gone. She can't see it because Fabric works, OneLake Security works across all workloads. Now, Kim is Power BI. We all know Kim is Power BI. So she heads back to the OneLake catalog, and she goes, "Hey, I'm going to use Power BI and create some fancy reports. Look at the pivot field list. What do you see?"
There is no credit card.
There is no credit card information, Kim. You can keep creating your fancy reports in Power BI. You should write some DAX, but you keep writing your fancy reports and everything. But then Kim goes, "You know what? I've been doing this a long time too, Patrick. So I'm gonna switch out and I'm gonna go to Excel. I'm leaving Fabric just like Adam did." And I said, "You're gonna get the same result, Kim, just like Adam." What do you see, Amir?
No credit card.
No credit card information, right? Woo! Just like that.
No diamond ring for ring. That's it.
That's it. And just like that, I created 2 roles, and I was able to set up security, seriously, that works across every single Fabric workload, inside and outside of Fabric.
So thank you so much, Patrick. The most fun security ever. largest member of the Fabric workload family are the databases. We just announced them 3 months ago in the Ignite conference. They have been taking off like a rocket ship. And I really want to give the stage to Shirish Toda, who's Mr. Databases in Microsoft. And
thank you.
And you take the stage.
All right. Well, I'm Shirish Toda. I run operational databases. I'm excited to be here to be talking about the youngest workload in Fabric. Well, IDC predicts that there are going to be 1 billion apps that are going to be focused on AI for enterprises. I think the number is going to be much, much higher. Our job is to make sure you have the right operational database backing for all these applications. Your developers should be able to exploit the benefits of transactional workloads, build awesome user-defined functions, modern RESTless headless APIs such as GraphQL, enjoy the frameworks and the tool systems that we already have in GitHub, VS Code, etc., etc. And you've already seen today, we've walked through many capabilities of Fabric that makes it easy for your data projects to excel with the pre-integrated SaaS environment. With databases now in public preview in Fabric, Fabric is evolving from being an analytics platform into a complete unified data platform. And that's the promise of Fabric databases here. All right, so what does Fabric databases do? It makes your applications easier to build because it has AI-enabled and auto-optimized database engines. We're starting with SQL Server, no less. It's easy to provision a SQL database, and I'm going to show you in a minute. Once you provision, it auto-manages itself. It scales based on your storage and throughput needs. It can monitor itself. It has intelligence built in. If you're aware of some of the features of SQL, things such as intelligent query processing, it knows how to index itself, and it really makes it easy for you to manage any relational application. Plus, your developers will have access to some of the coolest things such as VS Code extensions, our drivers, libraries, GitHub, Copilots, and much more. One of the coolest things here, you've already seen it today, data seamlessly mirrors into one lake once your operational workload is going. It doesn't impact your transactional workloads. The data just keeps going. Once the data is in one lake, the magic of Fabric kicks up. Now, of course, we're just starting here with SQL. We're not going to stop here. We're, of course, going to do a lot more here. This is an evolving space, so please stay tuned. And one of the coolest things, and perhaps the most gratifying thing for us, is that you've already started embracing SQL databases in Fabric. We've heard from many of you that it simplifies your decision-making, kind of enables you to build projects that were hitherto very difficult to do it, because you really need the operational aspect along with all the coolness that you have seen so far. When all these things come together, magic happens. So naturally, we're thrilled to be welcoming SQL databases into the family of Fabric. Now, SQL, as many of you know, I think a lot of you have started your data projects, a data career with SQL. It works in complex environments. It kind of operates across the clouds, including Azure and any other cloud. Operates in on-premises. It even goes and works on complex environments like Windows, Linux, containers, you name it. There is a project called Arc, Azure Arc, in Azure. It simplifies ability for you to manage your estate, even if it's outside of the cloud, with all the control plane capabilities of Azure. You can bring in all the goodness of Azure services to your estate wherever it is. It could be on-premises, it could be even other clouds. And naturally, we fit in SQL Server into the Azure Arc. By doing so, we're basically letting you enjoy all of the Azure benefits. Things such as Entra, Defender, Purview, all that stuff on the data, even when it is not sitting in Azure. And whatever we're doing in the cloud, of course, applies to our on-premises estate, applies to our SQL 2025 as well. So one of the biggest announcements we made a few months ago in Ignite, at Ignite in Chicago in 2024, was the release date of SQL Server vNext. We are basically racing towards bringing SQL 2025. Naturally means that it has to happen end of the year. This is in private preview now. Thank you. Well, and the coolest thing here is that the momentum we've been seeing is breathtaking. We've already seen 2x the number of signups for the private preview, more than any other past major release for SQL. So that's really endearing to us. And we're going to work very hard to make sure that we keep our industry-leading capabilities for both security and performance. We're going to automate the credential management, reduce vulnerabilities, and make sure that you have the best TPC workload performances. And of course, SQL 2025 is going to be first-class integrated into Fabric, because mirroring is built into SQL 2025. With that, the data that lands in SQL 2025, of course, will light up and will enable you to go do awesome trans-analytical applications in Fabric. Thank you. Now, allow me to run a small demo that shows the power of this awesome SQL database engine in conjunction with the rest of Fabric. Now, before I do that, though, I want to start you by showing how easy it is to create and manage SQL database in Fabric. Let's drill it. All right, so here we have Fabric. I'm just going to give a name of the database, and that's it. You've got a full relational database. You have Copilot, a familiar one that you already know in the context of the database. Type something, it basically converts it into T-SQL, the natural language to T-SQL. You can copy paste into the query editor and execute. That's easy. Now, if you're a professional developer, you want to basically have the modern GraphQL API that's inbuilt in the context of the database. That's possible. You have state-of-the-art source control plugged in inside the database as well. And if you are a traditional database administrator of SQL, you got the roles. Performance summary is built in. You could drill into any of the queries, understand how the queries are doing. It knows how your resources are being exploited, etc. right there. And here's the cool thing. Sometimes you may have to do disaster recovery. Restore is built in. You could get access to all the built-in copies of point-in-time restore. You could go ahead and build it really easily. This is what we mean by a SaaS experience. And of course, I haven't shown quite a lot about SQL. I didn't have to, because we're not necessarily building a new engine here. It carries the full power of SQL engine that you are familiar with into Fabric. That we're not cutting down on any of the surface area. We're basically SaaSifying it and deeply integrating into Fabric so you can envision the entirety of the application. I'm going to show you one example that basically does exactly that. This is an architecture of an insurance company where the claims officer is trying to improve the customer satisfaction. You can imagine a customer basically interacting with a vector application, vector search application. They want to search for their claims and then ask for a review. That review request basically gets picked up by the rest of Fabric. Streaming here, even streams here that gets picked up, conjunction with the data that's mirrored from the operational data in one lake, using AI functions, calls into an AI agent, gets your recommendation into your Power BI dashboard, and that basically helps the claims officer to improve the customer satisfaction. Let's see this quickly in action. Well, here, you see that the customer is playing with the chat playground. They're basically searching for their claims. They can use a free-flowing search. They got the claim that they are looking for. Now that they can submit for a review of that claim. In the background, though, this is basically being built inside a SQL database. Here we're showing SSMS. By the way, this is a new version. It works seamlessly with the Fabric database. SSMS, new version. I'm basically pointing out a model. I'm getting embeddings. Embeddings, as most of you know, is a mathematical representation to make it easy for you to build a free-flowing search, building vector indexing with our state-of-the-art DiskNN. All that is done. Now you can tie it up into a stored procedure, enabling the customers to basically do a very easy semantic search. As you can see here, the customer is asking for showing claims where an accident occurred. This is not the exact phrase. This is not a like clause, or this is not an equal predicate clause. It's just basically making a semantic search. But you get the right results here. And that's how the customer basically goes and finds the claims that they are looking for, now that they can ask for a review. All right? Okay. What happens once that request lands in the claims request table? It gets picked up by my event stream, and it's basically passed to a custom endpoint for further processing. We're going to look at how to process it with a Spark notebook. Let's first import the AI functions to talk to Azure OpenAI, get the right data frame for reading the stream. Once you have the right data frame, you can basically materialize it and gather the information, query the lakehouse to get the additional information about the customers and their claims. Once you have all that data, you can build an amazing prompt. This prompt basically gets the recommendation from the agent that I've been talking about. Once you have the request, you basically can write it back to the lakehouse. Well, let's see what happens once the agent recommendation is written into the lakehouse. I got the request here. It is written into the Lakehouse table. You can imagine now building a Power BI report that basically has an amazing executive summary, and then the claims officer can go on to do a lot more things here in terms of drilling, getting the recommendation, finding the auxiliary information about the customer claims, and so on and so forth. You can imagine how easy it is for the claims officer now to basically serve the needs of the customer. Well, so I would ask you to basically take a pause here and reflect on the complexity of doing such an end-to-end service outside of Fabric, without Fabric. That is really the whole beauty of integration and satisfying all these pieces. Now with databases coming into Fabric, this whole vision of trans-analytical applications is real. You basically can go and gather insights of the data that is just born in operational data in near real time. You can connect all these pieces and make it easy. So the potential of basically gathering so much of information on your operational data is real. You can do that in a governed, secure fashion, most importantly with AI-enabled aspects. So that's how I wrap it. And to talk further about the AI-enabled features and much more, I'm going to pass it back to my dear friend Amir.
Thank you, Shirish. I'm so excited about the addition of databases to Fabric, and as Shirish said, Translytical. You're going to see the combination of transactional and analytics, Translytical application. We're going to be talking about it for the next years. So it's going to be centerpiece of Fabric. But we want to move on and talk a bit about the third pillar of Fabric. It is the AI-enabled business user. It's all about making sure that the business users are getting their insight from the data. This is the world of Power BI that doesn't need any new introduction. And we're talking about Power BI, we typically talk about the semantic models that found the logical basis for everything we do. We have the data exploration, the data visualization. This is kind of what we talk about BI. And to show us more, what's coming into Power BI, I want to invite my friend Christian Wade to the stage. Hey, Christian. Doing great.
All right, everyone, it's an honor to be here.
So this year, we're going to celebrate Power BI 10 years birthday.
10 years?
Yeah, 10 years.
Oh my God.
Who's been with us for 10 years now?
Anyone?
Yeah, look at that.
Wow.
Right, a lot of people.
We are so grateful to every one of you who've been on this journey with us. We have the most active, most amazing community on the planet. Thank you so much. We're so excited for the future of Power BI with Fabric. We're going to continue right in this way.
Every month, over 30 million people are using Power BI. I'm not talking about selling licenses. I'm talking real users. Such a gigantic, amazing community of users have been, accompanying us and helping us, guiding the way through the innovation. And we've been delivering innovation month in, month out. There's always a new Power BI desktop drop with new features.
Absolutely right, Amir. This is why so many users love Power BI, because we continually invest in stunning visuals. These are just some of the investments we've made lately, including the brand new list slicer visual, which we'll show you soon. This is what we're all about, empowering non-technical users to create stunning reports and drive a data culture. And ultimately, that's what we're about, driving a data culture.
Now, all these beautiful reports are based on those semantic models that we talked about, right? And the semantic models are the place where we curate all the business ideas, the business concepts and tie them to data. So the business entities, whether they're customers or products or employees, whether it's the relationship between those, like how they're related through sales or through hiring process, it's the metrics and the measures, the KPIs that we have in the organization, all that are encapsulated in the semantic model. And there has been some real evolution of semantic models in Fabric.
That's absolutely right, Amir. We put semantics on massive data to make it easily consumable by non-technical users. So yeah, we've made a lot of progress on the storage modes. So these two they've been around for a long time, right? Direct query and import mode. And the way direct query works is users interact with visuals in Power BI reports. That generates DAX queries to the Power BI Analysis Services semantic model, which then translates and federates them as SQL queries to the underlying data source, which means you are at the mercy of the query processor of the underlying database, which invariably is just not geared to and just not as fast at processing these kind of aggregated BI-style queries, right?
And we've seen so many projects that started with the idea of, hey, we'll just put the beautiful visualizations on top of the data warehouse and just generate the SQL queries. And it looks really nice architecturally, but then users start complaining about the performance, it's sluggish, it's not performing, so they move to the second mode, which is...
That's absolutely right, import mode. Because as you fully know, Amir, we have the fastest BI engine on the planet, blazing fast query performance, interactivity at the speed of thought. It's something to behold. But of course, with import mode, you need to import the data, which causes data duplication and management overhead, right?
Yeah, so even though there is overhead, 90% of you choose import mode. That's a number. 90% choose import mode because of the amazing performance you get with import mode. But you pay for the overhead. You have to have 90 schedules of job. You pay for the processing of data. And this is why Fabric introduced the third mode.
We introduced Direct Lake mode. Direct Lake doesn't federate SQL queries to anyone. Direct Lake uses the same query processor as import. But because it retrieves the data directly from one lake, you don't need to, there's no data duplication. It's a great deal. You should try it.
Yeah. But you know, I hear from a lot of people here that say Direct Lake sounds great, but you cannot build Direct Lake models in the desktop. The favorite tool. Everybody's using here the Power BI desktop, right? But there was no Direct Lake ability to build models in the desktop.
Right, and it's not surprising, right? Because everyone loves Power BI desktop, right? Who loves Power BI desktop? That's one, my kids love Power BI desktop, right? You know, it's insane. So we hear you, right? So if we roll this demo, where are we going to start? In everyone's favorite tool, Power BI Desktop, because we are thrilled to announce that as of today, you can create Direct Lake semantic models directly from Power BI Desktop. That's how we roll. I'll click on one lake catalog. I'll just go ahead and select the lake house, and I'll create a Direct Lake semantic model in the workspace of my choice. Direct Lake, of course, provides blazing fast query performance directly from the lake without duplicating data, without managing refreshes. But Amir, what I really want to do here, right? I want to add rich semantic modeling objects to make this super easy to consume. And in the interest of time, I'm going to use the new tabular model definition language, affectionately known as TIMDAL, because it provides semantic modeling as code, and it comes with all the pro developer bells and whistles, right? So that's what I'm talking about. You've got some pros in the house. So I'm creating a TIMDAL script and executing it to create sophisticated business calculations, inferred relationships, business definitions, user hierarchy. I'm even using Copilot right here, which is coming soon for the TIMDAL view, to add metadata translations for multilingual semantic models.
Multilingual semantic models you can do with TIMDAL.
That's what I'm talking about. So, I mean, I've very quickly created this fully loaded semantic model, but what if I want to add some data from another one lake data item? Maybe some conform dimensions from a data warehouse? Pretty common, right? Well, am I dependent on the lakehouse team to do that?
No, you don't want to pull the data in the lakehouse.
I know! Fear not! The one lake catalog button is still enabled. Just go ahead and select the warehouse of your choice, select the tables you want, create the relationships yourself right here in the model view. And the best thing about it is, everything is still in Direct Lake mode. That's what I'm talking about.
So this is like composite models, but for Direct Lake.
Yeah, we are pleased to announce that as of today, you can have multiple Direct Lake sources in the same semantic model. Pretty sick, right? That's what I'm talking about. All right. So this thing's fully loaded. I'm proud of my work. This is ready for the masses. But this whole while, we've been live editing the model that we created in the service. Let's just switch over to the web. As you can see, the web has a rich modeling experience in its own right. We're working on adding Power Query support for import tables in the web. That's coming soon, right? You'll soon be able to combine the flexibility of import and the scalability and efficiency of Direct Lake in the same semantic model. Pretty cool, right?
So, and this is now full modeling capabilities in the browser. So if you are using a Mac, rejoice.
Mac users rejoice. All right. Now, to deploy this, I will of course use the built-in Fabric Git integration to ensure the repeatability of deployments, tests, and production. But of course, the whole point of doing this, in case anyone was wondering, is to enable thousands of business users to create stunning Power BI reports just like this one, using the brand new list slicer visual. So to summarize, we created a new Direct Lake semantic model directly from Power BI Desktop. We added multiple Direct Lake sources. We unlocked massive data with blazing fast query performance, and we didn't copy a single row of data.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
Pretty dope.
Yeah. Now, I love these reports. I absolutely love these reports. And, you know, reports and dashboard has been the hallmark of business intelligence. That's what business intelligence was about. But in the last 2 years, we have come to a completely different way of interacting with the computers, right? We don't just look at screens and read data. We actually have a conversation. We chat with the computer. We started with ChatGPT, but it's taking over everything. And we are adding to Power BI this new modality of chatting with data. And it's all based on everything you already built, on the same semantic models, on the same reports, everything, all the assets you already built are now going to make this experience with chatting with your data is incredibly flawless. Okay, so why don't you take a look to see what it means to create a chat with your data?
Okay. So this is a sneak peek, right? This is coming soon. Brace yourself. This is something to behold. All right, let's go ahead and run this. So imagine I'm a report creator, and I put my love and dedication into building this stunning report. Naturally, I want to empower my report consumers to ask natural language questions about it and get back the right answers. Now, this engagement visual has proven really useful to understand customer retention patterns, so I want to test what users in my organization will see if they ask for customer retention in 2024. Now, understandably, Copilot doesn't know what I'm talking about. How would it? Without prior knowledge, a human wouldn't know this vision is about customer retention either. So, just as you would train a new data analyst on your team, I want to educate Copilot on business context using the verified answer feature. Anytime someone asks for cohort retention analysis or customer retention, it's pretty likely they'd be interested in this visual. Now, Copilot will understand how to use this report. And if a user asks for customer retention, they'll get back the verified answer visual. So we ask that Power BI report creators, and there are many of you, join us on this AI transformation journey by helping train Copilot just as you would a new data analyst on your team.
Now, this is really good, but we don't want the user to know which reports to go and have the conversation to the data, right?
Good point, Amir. So let's switch to the business user experience who barely knows what a semantic model is, believe it or not, but happens to be an expert on how to run a business. Let's go ahead and ask for sales over time, and this first step in the discovery process is critical that we get right. There could be thousands of artifacts referring to this term. We have one shot to engage the user. The LLM performed a semantic search based on relevancy signals, such as business definition relevance. How popular is the artifact? Who created it? Is that person part of my organization? And we can, of course, analyze Microsoft Graph for organizational proximity. But in this particular case, I can even see the first report. It's used by my leadership team's app. It's clearly driving business decisions, and it's a trusted source. So I'll go ahead and use number one. We'll get back this nice LLM-generated summary, full with citations. Now I'm off to the races, right? I'm having a conversation with the data.
You can have follow-up questions.
Yeah, let's go ahead and filter. I don't know, filter by sales in Europe. I can now go ahead and expand how Copilot arrived at this to see exactly which filters were applied. And this, of course, Patrick, it will honor the one-leg security rules. No worries. All right, now, I don't know what you're thinking of here. What if I want to dig a little deeper? Maybe I want to do some slice and dice. Do I need to completely lose context and open?
No, look, I'm old school. I want to slice the pivoting.
Well, of course. Well, fear not. I can simply click explore this visual from right here in the chat experience, and I get full-blown slice and dice, clicky, draggy, dropping data analysis directly from the Copilot chat experience. That's what I'm talking about. What do you reckon? Insane, right? Pretty cool. All right. So I can save this.
You can share it, right?
I can share it. Amir, I just remembered. We haven't tested that verified answer visual. We need to test this. Let's ask for customer retention cohorts, and if the demo gods are with us, lo and behold, there is our beautiful retention visual. That's pretty.
And what's really cool about the whole thing is you're not in the context of a specific report. You have this new colorful button on the left side of the ribbon, right? And you can see that it's going to show up in the next few weeks to all of you in your tenant. And this is a place where every user can come in and start asking questions about any data from any report. They don't have to know how to navigate, they don't have to remember, and have the conversation with the data, right?
Absolutely right. Just that Copilot button right there. So I mean, in summary, we educated Copilot on key performance metrics, on business terminology, and more importantly, we educated Copilot on how to intelligently connect business users to the right data assets in Fabric for data-driven decision-making in the largest of organizations. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Christian.
Thank you. All right.
So we want to make sure that all of you can have access to this amazing set of AI capabilities across the board in Power BI and everywhere else in Fabric. So we heard your feedback. You said, you know what, why do you have some barriers? Why do you require minimum capacity size in order to use BI and AI? then we are now removing that barrier. And you can use AI everywhere in Fabric. Starting from F2 capacity, all the AI capabilities are available to you. Super excited about this. And with this, we are kind of closing the whirlwind tour of Fabric. All the workloads integrated together on top of a common base of AI, one lake, and governance. And with this, we're going to take a small break, see a little bit of dancing, and we'll see you later after the break. AI, more AI coming. See you.
Thank you. And what we're going to talk about today is going to be how you can use some of the amazing technology that Marco was showing you and talking about in Azure AI, and how we can use that and combine that with the new capabilities for data and AI in Fabric to build fully agentic data and AI solutions, right? So let's do this. And this is essentially going to be something that empowers all of you as data professionals, but you know what? All of us as data people to be able to fully dive in and leverage these agents for our solutions. So to do this, I'm going to walk you through how you can create and configure a data agent inside of Fabric. So let's dive into this with a demo. All right, so here we are in a Fabric workspace, and we're going to go ahead and create a new item called Data Agent. Some of you may be familiar with this because this is actually the same item as the AI skill, and we're happy to announce that we're renaming AI skills to Data Agents because that's actually exactly what it is. It's an agent that can be an expert on your data. So we're going to go ahead and give this agent a name. We're going to call it Contoso Customer Expert because it's going to be an expert on customer data. All right. And once we've done this, we're going to immediately dive into our creator experience. So I, as a creator, can now go ahead and the first thing I'm going to do is to add data sources, right? Because it's a data agent. And here I can mix and match from a number of different sources. We've actually recently added multi-data source support. So I can select from semantic models, lakehouses, warehouses, and event house databases. So for this, we're going to go ahead and add a semantic model that contains customer loyalty data. So once we add the data source to our agent, the agent can now reason on top of this, but we can do more. We can actually scope it down. In this case, I only had 2 tables, so I'm gonna go ahead and select both of them. And I can immediately dive in to ask a test question like, who are the top 5 loyalty customers, right? And the agent's now gonna process my question. It had one single source, and it's gonna give me a list of 5 customers. That's great. But this is more interesting. For transparency, we've also added details around the steps the agent took, including the query, in this case a DAX query, using the total lifetime customer value, which was correct. But let's make this more interesting. Let's add another data source. Let's add a lakehouse containing customer details and sales data. All right, so when we add our lakehouse, in this case, our lakehouse contained a large number of tables. So we want to scope this down to be a customer, product, and sales-oriented agent. And when you add multiple data sources, you're now adding complexity to the situation, right? So the agent is going to need some instructions, some guidance on when to use which source. And this is very similar how you train a junior data analyst or data engineer on where to go and find data, right, to answer some questions. So we're going to go ahead and ask another question. We're going to ask, what else can you share about these customers, these 5 top loyalty customers, right? And the agent's not going to have to pick which source it goes to answer the question. And we got a lot of details back, which is amazing, right? But if we dig a little deeper and look into the steps that our agent took, we can actually see that it went against the semantic model, which is not quite what I wanted, which is reasonable in this case because the semantic model and our lakehouse contain customer details. So let's add another thing. Let's add an example question or query to guide the agent further. And these are the tools that you as creators have to be able to configure data agents. So we're going to go ahead and add a question around additional details about customers and how we want the agent to query the data sources when this type of question comes in. All right, so let's ask the question again. What else can you share about these customers? And if we give it some time to operate, you can see that we got another list back. The same customers, but different types of details. This time, it actually went against the correct source, and we see T-SQL with the correct number of columns. All right, now this is super interesting because whenever you run a data agent, we always respect the row level security and column level security and security rules that you set up in your databases. So you have one layer to manage the security and the agent will honor that, which is great. All right, so you're gonna go ahead and iterate and test these agents before you're ready to publish them. And in this case, we've actually evolved the same agent and added more instructions, more sources, etc. So here, we've actually also added an event house KQL database that contains delivery data, customer delivery data. If you take a look at the instructions that we have, you see a much richer set of instructions because we've been kind of iterating and testing on this for a while. And same thing, if you look at the example queries, you see that we have a lot of queries, including the KQL example queries. All right, so let's go ahead and test this agent and ask some more advanced questions. Let's ask about the diamond status loyalty customers. We want to see the ones that had late deliveries, and we want a breakdown per customer name. All right, so the orchestrating engine of this agent is now going across all of these different sources and tools and figuring out, based on the instructions and the example questions, how to retrieve the answer. And we see a list here of the same customers, the 10 loyalty customers here, and their delayed deliveries. But more interestingly, you can see all the different steps that the agent took, and this one is super interesting. So it first actually had to go into the semantic model and retrieve the customer names. It then has to use those customer names in the lakehouse and retrieve the customer IDs. And then use those customer IDs to go against the third source, the KQL database, to go and retrieve the actual delivery data. So what you're seeing here is actually the AI, the agent, doing a join across multiple sources. And this would have taken me longer to do manually, which is amazing. All right, so we're gonna end with another question. So we're gonna go ahead and ask, what are the reasons for these late deliveries? Categorize those reasons for me, and highlight the delivery couriers that often had late deliveries. Right? So this is a different type of question. It now also needs to, beyond querying the data, analyze the data and synthesize it. So here you can see that the AI breaks down the different categories of deliveries for us, including the couriers that had those types of issues. And we also see that we can see a list of the couriers that I asked for that, had a lot of delays. So we can basically take action on this stuff. Right? And you see the KQL query there. Now that we've kind of tested and configured our agent, we can go ahead and publish the agent, which essentially makes it available for consumption, for downstream consumption. So here we can add a rich description, we can go ahead and publish it so that it can be discovered. For example, from experiences like the one Marco showed you in Copilot Studio. But we're also very excited to announce that as of this week, you can also use Fabric data agents integrated into Azure AI Foundry Agent Service in public preview. Thank you. This is really amazing because this is going to enable all of you that are working in Fabric to be able to build data agents that you can integrate into multi-agent solutions that you build in Azure AI Foundry using that amazing technology that Marco showed you. Now, I can't wait to see what you all build with this. But before you go ahead and build something, let's ask Marco to show us some really interesting scenarios in AI Foundry for how to use Fabric data agents.
All right, thank you, Nelly. Well, I'm back. You may remember me from like 5 minutes ago. Now, Nelly built for me this awesome Fabric data agent, which is able to query across this lakehouse. And I'm going to take it a step further. I'm going to connect it to an actual Foundry agent over here and use it to take action. All right, so I'm going to kick this thing off. Now, over here, so I'm asking it to find me the latest customer in 2025 with late delivery. The action that I want to take is to file a grievance with my delivery company who keeps making these things late. And as you can see over here, it is indeed connected to Fabric. Now this does take a moment for it to load, so I have actually pre-done this before I walked up here. And this is the output. This output over here is actually the input to a third agent. So I have another agent running over here. I'm going to pop that right in here, And let's get this guy started. All right. Now, what you're about to see, this is not a recording, this is actually live. And what this is going to do, here it comes. This is a computer use agent. This is the new OpenAI Responses API, which is now available in Azure OpenAI. And it is literally using this computer. Oh, there's a cookies pop up. Now let's see if it can figure this one out. So I've given it these instructions to file this grievance. And oh, it got past that. All right. And now it's going to start filling in this form. This CUA, computer use agent, can control an entire computer. In this case, I have it controlling an entire VM. So here it's using the web browser, but it really can use any application that's available on the computer. And bit by bit, it is filling this in. Now, one thing to note about CUAs, right now, they're not that fast. So it's not going to whip right through this thing. Another thing about them is, in a moment here, it's going to have to fill in this date picker. Date pickers are the bane of computer use agents. Just as much as they confuse us, they often confuse CUAs, although in this case, it seems like it might actually get it. And along the right-hand side, you can actually see kind of its thought process and the actions that it's taking as it works through this task. And now it's asking for my input. It says, is it ready to submit? I'm going to say, go, submitted. And it should actually go and do that. Now, while it's doing that, gaze for a moment upon my beautiful user interface over here. This beautiful interface here, okay, it's not that beautiful, but nonetheless, I would like you to gaze upon it, because why are we gazing? How did I build this thing? How did I even do this? I did build this myself. How did I do it? Well, check this out. So now, I had the Responses API running already, but it was in this kind of command line thing, and I knew I had to give this stage demo over here, so I needed a prettier user interface to do it. So now I'm in VS Code, VS Code Insiders actually, and here I have GitHub Copilot Agent. So how did I build that interface? I vibe coded it. So you may have heard of vibe coding before. This is what it is. So I gave it these instructions here. I said, I had a file already called app.py. That was the one where I had it working. I said, make me a UI that works like app.py. And I described what I wanted. I said, I wanted a 250 pixel panel on the right-hand side and all that kind of stuff. And it totally did this. It built this whole thing. This file, 400 some lines of code, all came from this text. So I mean, as you can see, it kind of noodled on it for like 5 minutes, otherwise I'd do this live. But in the end, it totally spat this out. Now, at first, it was not actually scaling the output over here. So I went back to my agent and I said, if we go to the top here, I said, make it so that the VNC output scales to fill the entire area. VNC is the protocol that it's using right now to control this remote virtual machine. And again, it noodled on it for about 5 minutes, and lo and behold, you see the result. It does indeed scale. So this is how software engineering is done today. This is what vibe coding is all about. I built an agent with an agent that connects to another agent, which calls the Fabric data agent, and it gets the job done. And with that, we're going to hear from a number of customers who are now going through their AI transformation. So Carlene's going to come up here and bring a few customers, but first, we're going to roll this video.
NTT Data is one of the largest business and technology services provider in the world. Our strategy is to deploy AI internally to enhance our own operations and to help clients do the same. We started exploring Azure AI Agent Service to see how we can bring our AI journey to the next level of autonomous AI agents. We are in the process of creating multi-agents. Semantic kernel AutoGen is actually something that we are exploring. Data forms the foundation of every part of AI solution. And now, Azure AI Agent Service and Microsoft Fabric coming together, it is a whole game changer. Data agents allows NTT to actually have conversations, ask very personalized questions about the data. We use it to look at our HR and back office operations to try to understand what is actually happening. We see Azure AI and Fabric bridging the challenges around data governance, and integration. And more than that, they simplify the deployment in a very reliable and safe way as well.
Please welcome to the stage Carleen van de Einde, Director of Product Marketing.
Welcome, welcome everyone. It's so great to see so many data lovers and enthusiasts here this morning with us. And what an amazing morning we've had, right? We started the day with Arun, Amir, and all their friends, looking at all the great innovation that's coming to Fabric in the next few months. And then we had Wangui, Marco, Nelly, taking us through how the wonderful world of Fabric and Azure AI Foundry come together to really help us on that agentic journey that a lot of us are, on or aspiring to. And so it's with a lot of pleasure that I get to close out this morning's keynote. And with that, I would love to invite 3 of our wonderful customers that are currently on this AI transformation journey to help us share a little bit more about their learnings, the challenges. So with that, John, Phil, Maureen, and can I have a hand of applause, please? Thank you. Welcome. So great to have you all here with us and a few friends. By getting started, let's do a quick round of intros. Maybe we go through names, role at the company and the company you represent, and where you flew in from.
Okay, so I'm John Mayo. I'm the VP of Data and Analytics at CSX, which is headquartered in Jacksonville, Florida, which is where I flew in from. So CSX is a Class 1 railroad. They operate critical infrastructure across the United States. We have 20,000 miles of track. That's between east of the Mississippi, all the way over to the East Coast, up to Canada, and down through Florida. And so the value that we're always striving to do is meet our customer success. And so as we bring more customers online onto the network, we need to make sure that we're operating efficiently. So we're always trying to strike a balance between the workload or the overall network capacity, the capacity that we're adding with the operations and how we can operate it efficiently. And so just a little bit about my background. I started off as a nuclear engineer. I went to the University of Cincinnati, graduated from nuclear engineering, and then I went immediately into SAIC, was a consultant, consulted across all of the utilities in the United States, and pretty much everywhere in the United States from a utility perspective, and then I moved into oil and gas, and I was with BP for 17 years, and then I was with Microsoft for a couple of years, and now I've been with CSX for about 2.5 years.
Amazing journey. Phil, what about you?
Hi everyone, Phil Withies. I'm Head of Architecture for the Data Analytics Microsoft Partnership at London Stock Exchange Group. To give you a bit of an idea of what we do as a business, sort of perhaps best known for our stock exchange and post-trade.
Where are we going?
Hi.
That's not that easy. You have to strike at the right time. So then you have to go back.
We got mugs.
So that's great stuff. Absolutely. I'm glad you stopped in.
Carabiners.
Connectors. And scanners. And also native.
They're cute.
In Fabric.
Yeah, I like to be very straightforward.
No, buddy.
Let me know if you want a picture of you racing later. I'll take a picture of you.
Sounds good. So cool.
So you're gonna have no evidence.
Oh yeah? So what's the scenario? Now on the cost. Oh really? So what we're doing.
There you go.
You have 3 days to do it.
What are these? Go ahead.
I feel like our teams are right. So I'm like, no, I'm not. 3 minutes. But then they said if that was
What's happening, Sonny?
Hey, how are you, man?
Doing good.
Yeah.
You're on the Hungarian Nerd YouTube channel?
Oh, is it?
Yes, and when I'm not building fabric frameworks, I'm volunteering, teaching any curriculum, foreign
Check it out, Sonny. There's Studio Ghibli style.
I'm so sorry.
Oh no, don't be sorry. Don't be sorry.